There is something that happens to a man when he is in the presence of a certain kind of woman. He cannot fully explain it. He might try. He might reach for words like magnetic or calming or just different. But even those words fall short. He walks away from the conversation feeling like something shifted inside him, and he is not entirely sure what it was or why. He only knows he wants to be around her again. He only knows that she made him feel something he has not felt in a long time, maybe something he has never felt at all. And the woman at the center of this experience is not who most people would expect. She is not the youngest woman in the room. She is not the loudest. She is not performing or auditioning or trying to win anything. She is, in many cases, a woman over 60, a woman who has lived through enough to stop pretending, a woman who has chosen herself in a way that younger women are often still learning how to do, a woman who carries something in her presence that most men cannot name but every man can feel. What is that quality? What is this thing that creates such a powerful, unexplainable response in men? That is exactly what this video is going to explore. And if you are a woman over 60 or approaching that season of life, I want you to pay very close attention, because what we are about to talk about is not about changing yourself. It is not about learning new tricks or playing games or becoming someone else. It is about recognizing something that may already be living inside you, something you may have been building your entire life, without realizing it had this kind of effect on the people around you. So, stay with me, because by the time we reach the end of this conversation, I believe you are going to see yourself a little differently, and that in itself is a kind of power. Before we go any further, if you are new to this channel, welcome. The Heart Decoded is a space created specifically for women over 60 who are choosing themselves, choosing their peace, their standards, their truth, and their wholeness. We talk about psychology, relationships, emotional intelligence, and the deeper layers of what it means to live fully and on your own terms in this extraordinary season of life. If that sounds like the kind of conversation you want to be part of, please subscribe right now and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And if this particular topic speaks to something in your heart today, share it with a woman you love, because she probably needs to hear this too now. Let us talk about this quality, this mysterious, powerful, deeply attractive quality that men cannot explain but cannot resist. And to understand it properly, we need to start somewhere that might surprise you. We need to start with what it is not. This quality is not physical beauty in the conventional sense. It is not a certain hair color or body shape or the absence of wrinkles. Men have chased conventionally beautiful women their entire lives and remained completely unmoved at the deepest level. Physical beauty gets attention, but it does not create the kind of response we are talking about here. The kind of response that lingers, the kind that makes a man lie awake thinking about a conversation, not just a face. This quality is also not money. It is not status, prestige, or achievement. Though many women over 60 have built extraordinary lives and carry tremendous accomplishment, those things are impressive, but they do not on their own create this unexplainable pull. You can be around a highly successful person and feel nothing but mild admiration. What we are describing goes deeper than admiration. This quality is not neediness, and it is not its opposite, which is cold unavailability. Some people confuse unavailability with attractiveness. They think playing hard to get or being emotionally distant creates this pull. It does not. What it creates is anxiety and confusion, not genuine, sustainable attraction. That is a very different thing, and this quality is not performance. It is not the careful curation of an image. It is not showing up in the right outfit with the right smile, saying all the right things. Performance gets noticed, yes, but people, and particularly men who have lived a few decades themselves, can feel the difference between a performance and a presence. One entertains, The other moves something. So if it is not beauty, status, strategy, or performance, what is it? It is settledness. It is the deep, quiet, unshakable settledness of a woman who knows herself. Let that land for a moment. Settledness. Not stiffness, not stubbornness, not walls. Settledness. The kind that comes from having walked through fire and come out the other side, not broken but refined. The kind that comes from having made peace with your own story. The kind that means when you walk into a room, your nervous system is not scanning for threats or approval or validation. You are simply there, fully there, present in your own body, comfortable in your own skin, grounded in your own truth. This is the quality. This is the thing men cannot explain. And there is profound psychology behind why it affects them the way it does. Let me walk you through it. Human beings are extraordinarily sensitive to the internal state of other people. We have what neuroscientists call mirror neurons, which are brain cells that essentially allow us to feel what another person is feeling just by being near them. This is why you can walk into a room where two people just had an argument and feel the tension, even if no one says a word. It is why you can sit next to someone who is anxious on an airplane and begin to feel your own heart rate increase. It is why a calm, settled presence has a physiological effect on the people around it. When a woman is truly settled within herself, when she is not running a constant inner narrative of self-doubt or seeking approval or performing for an audience, that internal state radiates outward. Other people feel it, often without being able to articulate what they are sensing. They just know they feel better around her. They feel calmer, more themselves, more at ease. For a man, this is extraordinarily powerful because most men, though they rarely talk about it, carry a significant amount of internal noise, pressure to perform, anxiety about significance, the weight of whatever wounds they have collected over the decades. And then they walk into the presence of a woman who is genuinely settled, genuinely at peace with herself, and not needing anything from him to feel whole. And something in him exhales. He does not know why. He just knows it feels different. He just knows he has not felt this around many people, and he wants to be near it again. This is the beginning of what men cannot explain. But there is much more to it than just the physiological calm, because settledness in a woman over 60 is not just an internal state. It expresses itself in very specific, observable ways, and each of those expressions has its own particular effect on the men around her. Let us talk about the first expression, and that is the way a settled woman listens. Most people listen with the intention of replying. They are holding their response, preparing their counterpoint, waiting for the pause where they can jump in. This is not real listening. It is sequential talking. And people can feel the difference, even when they cannot name it. A woman who is settled within herself listens with her whole attention. She is not constructing her response. She is not rehearsing how she will come across. She is not half distracted by her own concerns. She is genuinely fully present with the person speaking. And this kind of listening is so rare, so uncommon in our fractured, distracted world, that when someone experiences it, it can feel almost disorienting. Men, in particular, are often not truly listened to, not because no one cares, but because the people in their lives are also distracted, also preoccupied, also performing their own internal narratives. When a man encounters a woman who listens with real attention, with her eyes and her whole self, something in him feels seen in a way he does not have words for. He will walk away from that conversation feeling understood, valued, and strangely moved, and he will not be entirely sure why. This is not a technique. You cannot fake this kind of listening. It only comes from being genuinely settled within yourself, because genuine presence requires that you are not in that moment consumed by your own needs and insecurities. It requires that you have done enough inner work to have space for someone else. Women over 60 who have done their inner work, who have made peace with their stories and chosen themselves, very often listen in exactly this way, not because they learned a skill, because they no longer need to perform. And in the absence of performance, presence becomes possible. The second expression of settledness is how a woman holds her opinions and convictions. A woman who is settled within herself knows what she thinks. She has beliefs and values that are genuinely hers, not borrowed from whoever she is currently trying to please. And she holds those beliefs with a particular quality. She is clear but not combative, confident but not rigid. She can disagree with you and still make you feel respected. She can hold a position without needing to defeat you or convert you. She simply says what is true for her, and then she lets it be. This is incredibly rare and incredibly attractive. Most people hold their opinions in one of two ways. Either they hold them desperately, needing you to agree in order to feel validated, making every difference of opinion feel like a threat. Or they hold them loosely, shifting and adjusting depending on what they think you want to hear, performing agreeableness to earn approval. A settled woman does neither. She does not need your agreement to feel confident in what she believes, and she does not need to perform agreement to make you like her. She is simply, peacefully, unshakably herself. And there is something about that groundedness that men find almost breathtaking, because it means she is real. It means what you see is what she actually is. And after a lifetime of navigation and strategy and trying to read between lines, encountering that kind of straightforward authenticity feels like cool water. She also does not chase agreement. She does not keep pushing after she has said her piece. She says it clearly, she means it fully, and then she allows you the dignity of disagreeing. This, paradoxically, makes men want to agree with her more, because she is not demanding it, and we want most what we are not pressured to give. The third expression is how she handles silence. A woman who is anxious, a woman who is running on the need for approval, cannot handle silence. Silence feels like a verdict. It feels like rejection or boredom or disapproval. So she fills it, rushes to fill it with words, with laughter, with questions, with anything to avoid the terrifying blankness, where she might have to sit with her own thoughts and wonder what the other person is thinking about her. A settled woman is comfortable in silence, not just tolerant of it, comfortable. She can sit across from you without saying anything and not feel threatened by the quiet. She can let a pause be a pause. She can let a conversation find its own breath. And this, again, creates something in the nervous system of the person across from her. They relax. They stop feeling like they have to perform or produce. They stop feeling like the silence is their failure. For men who are often accused of not talking enough and who often feel pressure to keep conversations going or be interesting or be entertaining, being around a woman who is genuinely comfortable in silence is a kind of liberation. It takes the pressure off, and in that released pressure, something more genuine can begin to grow. The fourth expression is the way she responds to difficulty. Life has given women over 60 material, real material, losses, transitions, disappointments, grief, reinvention. The women who have truly settled into themselves are not women who have been spared these things. They are women who have been through them and processed them and found their footing on the other side. And because of that, when something difficult arises in a conversation or a situation, they do not collapse. They do not escalate. They do not perform crisis in order to draw sympathy. They engage with difficulty the way a skilled navigator engages with rough water. They acknowledge it, they orient to it, and they move through it with a kind of grounded clarity that is genuinely awe-inspiring. A man who witnesses this in a woman does not forget it, because he has likely spent significant portions of his life around people who escalate in difficulty, who become reactive or demanding or withdrawn when things get hard. To sit across from a woman who can speak about a genuine hardship with quiet, clear-eyed steadiness is to encounter a kind of strength that most people have never seen up close. And it reframes everything. It reframes his understanding of strength. It reframes his understanding of what a woman can be. And it very often reframes his understanding of what he actually wants in a partner. He may not be able to articulate any of this. He may just say, she is different, or there is something about her. But what he has encountered is resilience that has become settledness. And it changes him, at least a little, to have been near it. The fifth expression, and this one is perhaps the most powerful of all, is the way she loves herself. Not narcissistically, not performatively, not as a declaration or a hashtag, but quietly, genuinely, functionally. The way a settled woman over 60 loves herself is visible in how she speaks about herself, how she allows herself to be treated, what she accepts and what she declines, what she walks toward and what she walks away from. She speaks about herself without self-deprecation and without arrogance. She does not constantly undercut her own thoughts with phrases like, "This is probably a silly idea," or "Forgive me for going on." She does not apologize for taking up space, but she also does not boast or perform superiority. She simply regards herself as a person of value, quietly, consistently, genuinely, and she allows herself to be treated in accordance with that value. She does not accept dismissal or disrespect or being taken for granted, not with anger, not with drama, with the simple, clear, the unwavering gesture of declining to remain in situations that do not honor who she is. This is profoundly attractive to men, not because men want to be controlled or managed, but because a woman who knows her own worth creates a container of dignity for the entire relationship. When you are with a woman who has genuine self-regard, you are automatically held to a higher standard. And for a man who is genuinely interested in something real, that higher standard feels not like a burden, but like an invitation to rise. He finds himself wanting to be worthy of her regard. He finds himself thinking more carefully about how he speaks and what he offers. He finds himself, almost without realizing it, becoming a better version of himself. And he will associate that becoming with her presence. He will not always know why she makes him feel more like who he wants to be, but he will feel it, and he will want more of it. Now, let us talk about something important, because some of you listening to this may be thinking, yes, but I do not feel settled. I have been through a lot. I am still processing things. I have wounds that have not fully healed and insecurities that still have a voice. I am not sure I am who this video is describing, and here is what I want you to hear. Settledness is not the absence of wounds. It is not the completion of healing. It is not perfection or arrival or having everything figured out. Settledness is a direction, not a destination. It is the orientation of someone who has committed to their own inner life, who has chosen to do the work of knowing themselves and making peace with their story, even when that work is not finished. Every woman over 60 who has lived honestly has material for settledness. You have survived things, you have lost things, and still gotten up. You have changed your mind about things you used to be certain of, and you have had the courage to keep going anyway. You have made mistakes and found a way to carry them without being destroyed by them. You have loved people who did not love you back well, and you have survived that too. All of that is the raw material of settledness. All of that is what gets refined over time, with intention and honesty and the decision to stop shrinking into the quality we are talking about, the quality men cannot explain. But here is the crucial piece. It does not happen by accident, or rather it does not deepen and stabilize by accident. it requires a choice. The choice to turn toward yourself with the same compassion you would offer anyone you love. The choice to stop running from your own interior life and start inhabiting it. The choice to let your past be part of your story without letting it be the whole story or the ending. Women who have made that choice, who are in the ongoing process of making it, carry something in their presence that no beauty product or strategy or performance can replicate. They carry the particular beauty of someone who has become real. And realness, as it turns out, is one of the most magnetic forces on Earth. Let us keep going, because there are more layers to this. And one of the most important ones has to do with what a settled woman does with her own life. She has one, a full one. A life that is not organized around waiting or hoping or revolving around the presence or absence of a man. She has interests that genuinely absorb her, friendships that genuinely nourish her, a sense of purpose that is genuinely her own. She occupies her own life the way a person who belongs there does, with ease and investment and the quiet delight of someone who likes where she lives. This is not performed independence. This is not the strategic act of seeming busy or unavailable to create attraction. This is real. She is genuinely not available in the way that an empty vessel waiting to be filled is available. She is full, and she brings that fullness to every interaction, every relationship, every conversation. For a man, this is extraordinarily attractive for reasons that are both conscious and unconscious. Consciously, he recognizes that this is a woman who is not going to collapse into him or demand that he be her entire world. She is not going to make him responsible for her happiness or punish him when he cannot be everything she needs. She is already complete. What she offers is addition, not rescue. She is interested in connection, not salvation. Unconsciously, he senses that being with this woman will not cost him himself, that he will not need to disappear or diminish or manage her fragility, that there is room in the relationship for both of them to be whole. This is what men mean when they say they want a woman who has her own life. They do not mean they want someone emotionally detached or uninterested in them. They mean they want someone whose inner world is rich enough that the relationship is a choice, not a necessity. Someone who is there because she wants to be, not because she has nowhere else to be. Women over 60 who have genuinely chosen themselves have this. They have rebuilt their lives, often from scratch, after children left home or careers shifted or marriages ended or any number of other transitions. They have discovered what they actually love, what they actually want to spend their time on, who they actually want to be, and they have created lives that reflect those discoveries. That fullness is visible. It expresses itself in the way they talk about their days, the way they light up about certain topics, the way they are never quite as available as someone who has nothing better to do. It is not a strategy. It is just a life, a full, genuine, interesting life. And it creates an irresistible pull. Now let us talk about something that relates to all of this but comes from a slightly different angle, and that is the quality of a woman's emotional honesty. A settled woman is emotionally honest, not in the oversharing, boundaries dissolved way that can sometimes pass for emotional honesty, but in the quiet, clear, undramatic way of someone who knows what she feels and is not afraid to say it simply when it is appropriate. She does not manufacture emotions for effect. She does not perform sadness or enthusiasm or vulnerability strategically. She does not suppress her real feelings and replace them with whatever she thinks is more palatable. She simply, authentically says what is true for her, and she does it with such ease that it disarms the people around her. Most people, especially most adults who have been navigating the complex emotional terrain of long relationships and adult life, have become experts at emotional self-concealment. They have learned to present the version of themselves that gets the best response. They have learned to hide the parts that feel risky, and most of the time, they are not even aware they are doing it anymore. It has become automatic. When they encounter a woman who is simply, honestly, openly herself, without agenda and without armor, it creates a kind of cognitive dissonance. They cannot find the strategy. They cannot find the performance. And in the absence of those things, something relaxes, something opens. They find themselves being more honest in response. Not because they decided to, but because her honesty created a permission and a safety they did not even know they were looking for. For men specifically, this kind of emotional honesty in a woman can be genuinely revelatory. Many men have spent their lives in environments where emotional authenticity was discouraged, where feelings were treated as weakness, where the unwritten rule was to keep it together and not need too much. And they have internalized those rules, often at great cost to their own interior lives. A woman who is emotionally honest and comfortable, who can talk about something that mattered to her without either performing it or minimizing it, who can say, "I was hurt by that," or "I really love this," or "I want more of that in my life," with simple, clean clarity, models something that many men have never been given permission to do, and it moves them. Often profoundly, they will say she is easy to talk to. They will say they have never talked this much or opened up this way before. They will say they do not know what it is, but there is something about her. And what they are experiencing is the effect of genuine emotional honesty, the permission it creates, the safety it builds, the intimacy that becomes possible in its presence. There is another quality that sits alongside all of this, and it is equally powerful. It is what we might call the absence of hidden agendas. A settled woman is not running a covert strategy. She is not trying to engineer a particular outcome or manage how she comes across, or lead a man toward a decision she has already made without telling him. She is transparent about what she wants and what she does not want, and she is comfortable letting the other person respond authentically to that transparency. This is extraordinarily rare and extraordinarily powerful. Most interactions between adults, particularly in the early stages of romantic or potentially romantic connection, are conducted with significant strategic overlay. Both people are managing their image, testing the waters, concealing their real interest to avoid vulnerability, advancing their own agenda while trying to read the other person's agenda. It is exhausting. And it is deeply alienating even when people are doing it with the best of intentions. When a man encounters a woman who is simply straight with him, who says what she means and means what she says, who does not have a hidden script running beneath the conversation, it is like breathing fresh air. He can relax. He does not have to decode anything. He does not have to wonder what she actually meant or what she is actually after. She is showing him exactly who she is and what she wants, and trusting him to respond in kind. And here is the thing about that kind of trust. It is contagious. When you trust someone enough to be honest with them, they very often rise to that trust. They become more honest in return. The conversation becomes more real. The connection becomes more genuine. And he walks away feeling like he actually met someone. Not a performance, not a strategy, but an actual human being. And that is so rare that it stays with him. Women over 60 who have stopped playing games, who have decided that at this point in their lives, they simply do not have the time or the interest in anything less than honest, transparent engagement, carry this quality naturally. It is not a decision they make in the moment. It is who they have become. And it is one of the most attractive things about them. Let us take a moment to talk about something that is often misunderstood in conversations like this one, and that is the relationship between this quality of settledness and romantic interest. Some women, when they hear about this quality, begin to think that the goal is to become so complete and so settled, that you no longer need or want romantic love, as if the ultimate expression of self-possession is a kind of romantic indifference. And that is not what we are describing at all. A settled woman can want love with every bit as much warmth and depth as any other woman. She can desire partnership, companionship, intimacy, romance. She can want those things genuinely and openly. The difference is not the presence or absence of desire. The difference is that her desire does not come from lack. It comes from abundance. She is not seeking love to feel whole. She is already whole. She is seeking love because she has so much to give and to receive. Because connection is one of the great joys of being human. Because she has the capacity for genuine, deep, rich partnership, and she wants to use that capacity. Not because she is empty and hoping someone will fill her, but because she is full and wanting to share that fullness with someone equally full. And men can feel the difference. They can feel the difference between a woman who wants them because she needs to not be alone and a woman who chooses them because she genuinely finds them interesting, compelling, worthy of her time and attention. The second feels entirely different from the first. The second feels like a gift, freely given. And it is the most valuable kind of love there is. A settled woman's love is not desperate, not clinging, not conditional on constant reassurance. It is steady, generous, and chosen. And for a man who has experienced need-based love, conditional love, love that came with hidden demands and performance requirements, encountering this quality of love is transformative. He does not always know how to name what is happening. He just knows it feels different. He just knows he has never felt quite so free inside a relationship. And he wants to stay. Now, let us talk about another dimension of this quality that is specific to women over 60, and that is the particular kind of wisdom that comes with having lived this long. Wisdom is not information. It is not knowledge in the accumulative sense. Wisdom is the distilled understanding that comes from having actually lived through things, not just read about them. It is the kind of knowing that changes not just what you think, but how you move through the world. A woman over 60, if she has been paying attention to her life, carries decades of that distilled understanding. She knows things about people and about herself, and about what actually matters that younger people are still in the process of learning. And she knows them not as theories, but as lived truths, things she has felt in her bones and tested against reality and found to be real. This wisdom expresses itself in the way she sees through pretense without judgment. She has seen enough of human behavior to understand that most of the difficult things people do come from fear, insecurity, old wounds, unexamined patterns. She does not take things as personally as she once did. She does not react to the surface behavior. She sees the need underneath it, and she responds to that instead. For men, encountering this kind of wisdom is deeply moving. Most men are not accustomed to being seen clearly and compassionately at the same time. They are accustomed to being judged, or analyzed, or managed, or idealized. But to be genuinely seen, including the parts that are complicated and human and unfinished, and to be treated with understanding rather than verdict, is a gift that very few people ever give. A woman over 60 who has done her inner work gives this gift naturally, not because she has no standards. Her standards are, if anything, higher than they have ever been. But her standards come from clarity, not from fear. She knows what she will accept and what she will not, and she holds those lines with grace rather than rigidity. She also knows when to let something go. She knows that not every irritation is worth addressing. Not every difference is worth fighting over. Not every imperfection is a reason for alarm. She has perspective, real perspective, the kind that comes from having seen what actually matters in a life and what turns out not to matter at all. And that perspective is contagious. Men who spend time in the company of a woman who has this kind of wisdom find themselves gaining a little of it too. Their own concerns become less catastrophic. Their own sense of proportion improves. They begin to see their lives a little more clearly, and they associate that clarity, that calming of their own inner noise, with her. She is, whether she realizes it or not, offering them something deeply valuable, not by trying, just by being who she is. This is why men cannot explain what happens to them around women who have this quality. It is not one thing. It is the whole constellation. The settledness, the presence, the honest listening, the clear self-knowledge, the gracious self-regard, the full and genuinely inhabited life, the emotional honesty, the wisdom, the lack of hidden agendas. It is all of it working together, creating a field of energy around this woman that is unlike anything most people encounter. And for a man who is himself done with the performance, who is himself at a point in life where he is tired of the games and the masks and the conditional affections, encountering this woman is like coming home to a country he has always been looking for, but never found. Now, I want to spend some time on something that is really important for women over 60 specifically, because one of the things I hear again and again from women in this community is the voice of doubt. The voice that says, yes, but I am too old now. Yes, but I do not have what I once had. Yes, but the window has closed. Yes, but men do not look for this in older women. And I want to meet that voice directly, because it deserves a direct response. First, let me say clearly, the quality we are describing does not diminish with age. It deepens with age. This is not a youth-dependent quality. It is an experience-dependent quality. It is the fruit of a life fully lived, not the property of a particular decade. And that means women over 60 are not behind the curve on this. They are often ahead of it. Second, the men who respond to this quality are not men who are running a subconscious attractiveness calculation based on age. They are men who have their own depth, their own lived experience, their own hard-won understanding of what actually matters. They are men who have learned the way most people learn these things, through loss and disappointment and time, that the most attractive quality in another person is the quality of being genuinely themselves. And those men, when they encounter a woman who is genuinely herself, do not think she is too old. They think she is exactly what they have been looking for. Third, and this is perhaps the most important point of all, this quality is not primarily about attracting men. It is about inhabiting the fullness of who you are. It is about living the life that is available to you with everything you have got. It is about choosing yourself so completely and so thoroughly that you radiate the kind of peace and presence that changes the rooms you walk into. The effect on men is, in a way, a side effect. It is the natural consequence of a woman becoming fully herself. And yes, it is real, and yes, it is powerful. But if you build this quality for the purpose of attracting men, you will have misunderstood it. This quality is built by choosing yourself, by doing the inner work, by making peace with your story, by filling your life with what genuinely matters to you. The attractiveness is a byproduct, not the goal. And here is what I find extraordinary about that. When you pursue genuineness for its own sake, when you choose yourself because you are worth choosing and not as a strategy, you become the most magnetic version of yourself. The thing you cannot manufacture, you get by not trying to manufacture it. The irresistibility is in the realness, and the realness is in the choice to simply, fully, unapologetically be yourself. Women over 60 who have made that choice, who have moved through the season of performing and pleasing and shrinking and arrived at the wide-open territory of simply being themselves, these women are doing something extraordinary. They are showing the rest of us what it looks like to live from the inside out. And that is a gift not just to the men who encounter them, but to every woman watching. Let us go a little deeper into the psychology of this for a moment, because I think it illuminates something important. There is a concept in psychology called secure attachment. It describes a pattern of relating to others that comes from having an underlying sense of safety and self-worth. People with secure attachment are comfortable with closeness, but do not need it to feel okay. They can be alone without feeling abandoned and connected without feeling engulfed. They communicate clearly about what they need, and they receive the needs of others without feeling threatened. Secure attachment, in its fullest expression, is essentially the psychological architecture of the quality we have been describing. It is settledness, operationalized. It is the way a person who genuinely loves and trusts themselves moves through the world of relationships. Now, secure attachment is not just something you were born with or not. It can be developed. It can be built, particularly in adulthood, through a combination of self-awareness, honest relationships, therapeutic work, and the kind of intentional self-examination that the most growth-oriented women over 60 tend to have been doing for decades. In fact, one of the most interesting findings in attachment research is that it is quite possible for people who had insecure attachment in earlier life to develop what researchers call earned security in adulthood. Earned security is exactly what it sounds like. It is the secure attachment that comes not from a charmed early life, but from doing the hard work of understanding your patterns, grieving your wounds, and building a genuine relationship with yourself over time. And women over 60 are very often in possession of exactly this kind of earned security. They have had the time, the motivation, the life experience, and often the pain necessary to do the deep work. They have earned their peace, and the peace they carry is not the peace of someone who has never been disturbed. It is the much more valuable peace of someone who has been through the storms and found their way back to stillness, again and again and again. That earned peace, that earned security, has a particular quality that is different from naive or untested peace. It has texture, it has depth. It is credible in a way that untested peace is not. And people, including men, can feel that difference. When you are near someone whose peace is real because it has been tested, you trust it in a way you do not trust the peace of someone who has simply not yet been challenged. You know it will hold, and knowing it will hold makes you feel safe in a way that matters enormously. I want to talk now about something that often gets overlooked in conversations about attraction and relationships, and that is the role of self-respect in the way a woman occupies physical space. A settled woman over 60 occupies space differently, not more space in the aggressive sense, but genuinely grounded space. She walks into a room and she does not immediately check to see who is watching or how she is being received. She arrives. She stands or sits with an ease in her body that communicates on a level below words that she belongs here, that she is comfortable being seen, that she does not require external validation to feel that her presence is legitimate. This is visible. People notice it, often without knowing what they are noticing. They just know she has presence. They just know that when she walks in, the room shifts a little. Not because she is loud or dramatic or performing, because she is genuinely quietly there, fully inhabiting her own body and her own space. For men, this is particularly striking because it is so uncommon. Most people, regardless of gender, occupy space with a certain degree of apology, particularly in social situations where status and judgment are in play. They make themselves a little smaller, a little more tentative, a little more uncertain. A woman who does not do this, who simply arrives in her fullness and stands in her own ground, creates an impression that is almost impossible to shake. And this quality of how she occupies space is entirely an inner game. It cannot be faked through posture tips or confidence coaching, at least not at the depth we are describing. It comes from a genuine relationship with herself, from having decided at some real and fundamental level that she is enough, that she does not need to earn her place in any room, that her presence in and of itself has value. Women over 60 who have made this decision, who have moved through the long process of arriving at their own enoughness, carry this in their bodies, and it changes everything about how they are experienced by the people around them. Now let us shift to something that is both deeply practical and deeply connected to everything we have been talking about. And that is the way a settled woman over 60 handles the early stages of connection, whether romantic or otherwise. She does not rush. She does not need the relationship to become something quickly in order to feel secure. She is comfortable allowing things to unfold at their natural pace because her worth is not contingent on the outcome of any particular connection. She can meet someone interesting and enjoy the conversation without immediately constructing a narrative about what it might become. She can be genuinely present to what is, without her nervous system pulling her toward anxious forward projection. This is extraordinarily attractive for all the reasons we have already discussed, but it is also, like practically speaking, one of the most powerful relational stances a person can take. Because when you are not rushing toward a predetermined outcome, you see the other person more clearly. You are not filling in the blanks with what you hope they are. You are actually paying attention to who they are, and that attention, that real seeing, is the foundation of any genuine connection. And because she is comfortable with the pace, she is also comfortable with ambiguity. She does not need to know where things are going right now. She can hold the not yet knowing with equanimity. And this equanimity communicates again without words that she is not dependent on him for her stability, that she can appreciate what is present without being undone by what is uncertain. And for a man who may have experienced relationships where ambiguity created pressure and urgency, this is a revelation. She is also, in these early stages, clear about what she is and is not available for, not in a forbidding or defensive way, but in the simple, gracious way of someone who knows herself well enough to communicate her reality. She can say what she is looking for without making it sound like an ultimatum. She can name what does not work for her without creating drama. She can be honest about her life and her desires and her limits in a way that is warm and direct simultaneously. This combination, warmth and directness together, is rare and extraordinarily powerful. Most people achieve one at the cost of the other. They are warm but vague or direct but cold. A settled woman can hold both, because warmth comes from her genuine regard for people, and directness comes from her genuine regard for herself. And when both of those are real and solid, they coexist naturally. Men are profoundly affected by this combination because it creates an experience that feels safe and real at the same time. Not just comforting, not just exciting, but both. Genuinely warm and genuinely honest. And that combination is, for many men, an experience they may never have had before. An experience that they recognize, almost instinctively, as something they do not want to walk away from. Let us also spend some time on something that I think is both beautiful and important about the quality we have been describing, and that is how it is expressed in joy. A settled woman knows how to experience joy. Real, uncomplicated, genuine joy. Not the performed happiness of someone who is trying to seem attractive. Not the careful positivity of someone managing her image. Real delight. Real pleasure in the small and significant things of her life. She laughs when something is genuinely funny, and the laugh is real. She lights up about the things she loves, whether it is her garden or a great book or a conversation that surprised her, and the lighting up is genuine. She experiences beauty in nature, in art, in music, in a well-made meal, with a sensory presence and appreciation that comes from being genuinely connected to her own experience. And this capacity for joy is intoxicating. It is one of the most genuinely attractive qualities a person can have, because joy is contagious and because it signals something fundamental about the quality of a person's inner life. People who can genuinely enjoy their lives are people who are present to their lives. People who are present to their lives are people who are present to the people in them, and being genuinely present to, genuinely delighted by another person is the most powerful gift of attention a human being can give. When a man is around a woman who experiences real joy, who is genuinely delighted by things, who laughs with her whole self and appreciates with her whole attention, he begins to feel more alive. He begins to pay more attention to his own experience. He begins to find himself noticing things, feeling things, appreciating things that he had been moving past without registering. Her joy wakes him up a little. Her presence makes his own presence more vivid, and he will not fully understand what is happening. He will just know that things feel more real around her, more worth paying attention to, more worth being present for, and that, again, is something he will want to return to again and again. I want to offer something now to any woman who is listening and thinking, I want this, I want to be this. Or perhaps more accurately, I want to fully become what I already am, because I believe that many women over 60 already contain the seeds of everything we have described. The settledness is not something foreign that needs to be imported. It is already in you, in the experiences you have had, the losses you have survived, the wisdom you have earned. It just needs to be tended and chosen and allowed to come fully forward. So how do you do that? You begin by turning toward yourself with genuine curiosity and compassion. Not self-improvement as a project, not trying to fix what is wrong, just getting interested in who you actually are. What do you actually love? What do you actually think? What do you actually feel underneath the layers of should and must and what other people need? What is true for you, not theoretically, but in the lived, felt reality of your daily experience? You spend time with those questions, not to arrive at final answers, but to begin to hear your own voice more clearly. Because so many women have spent so many years hearing everyone else's voice at greater volume than their own, that they have lost the thread back to themselves, and finding that thread is the beginning of everything. You also, and this is important, begin to notice where you are still seeking approval instead of living from your own authority, to where you are still performing instead of being, where you are still shrinking to make someone else comfortable. You notice those places without judgment, with curiosity, because awareness is the first move toward change, and you make the choice, as many times as it needs to be made, to come back to yourself, to inhabit your own life more fully, to speak your own truth more clearly, to occupy your own space with more ease and less apology, not because you are becoming someone new, but because you are becoming more fully who you already are. This is the work, and it is some of the most meaningful, transformative work a human being can do. And women over 60 who are doing it, who have been doing it, who have been choosing themselves bit by bit over the years, are among the most remarkable people on earth. They are carrying something that the world genuinely needs, something that the men in their lives genuinely benefit from, something that the younger women watching genuinely learn from, the quality of a life fully inhabited, honestly lived, and freely given. And when men encounter this quality in a woman, when they step into the field of presence that she has built through the work of a lifetime, they feel something that they cannot name and do not want to lose. They feel, perhaps for the first time, what it is like to be in the company of someone who is completely, unapologetically, beautifully real, That is the quality. That is the thing they cannot explain. That is what we have been circling all along. It is authenticity in its deepest form, not as a concept, as a lived reality. The authenticity of a woman who has been through enough to know what matters, done enough inner work to know who she is, and made peace with enough of her story to be fully present in the one she is still writing. That is who you are, or who you are becoming if you are here, listening to this, choosing yourself in the ongoing daily act of showing up honestly and fully to your own life. And that is everything. Before we close, I want to say something directly to the women who are watching this and feeling, not just intellectually, but in their bones, the resonance of what we have been talking about. Women who recognize themselves in some of this, or who are standing at a threshold and can feel that the next part of their story holds something larger and freer than anything that has come before. You are not too late. You are not past your prime in any sense that matters. You are, if anything, arriving at something, at the fullness of yourself, at the version of you that was always waiting for enough living to have happened, enough honesty to have accumulated, enough of the performance to have been released. The most extraordinary chapter of your life does not have to be behind you. For many women, it is exactly where they are standing right now, at the edge of it, at the beginning of living from the inside out, fully and without apology for perhaps the first time. And the world, including the men in it, who are worth your time and attention, will feel the difference. You already know what I am about to say. You already feel it somewhere in you. The quality we have been talking about is not something you need to go get. It is something you need to stop covering up. Stop shrinking, stop apologizing, stop performing, stop making yourself smaller so that others can feel bigger. Stop waiting for permission to take up the space that is already, fully, rightfully yours. You are a woman who has lived, who has felt deeply and survived fully and grown continuously. You are a woman who has paid attention to her own life and made something real out of it. Stand in that, inhabit that. Let that be what radiates from you. And watch what happens. If you have been moved by this conversation, or if something here confirmed something you have long suspected about yourself, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what landed for you. Tell me what you are sitting with. Tell me what part of this your life already knows to be true. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please do that right now. Every week we explore the deeper truths about love, psychology, independence, and what it means to live fully and on your own terms in this powerful season of life. This community is made up of women who have chosen themselves, and I would be honored to have you as part of it. Share this video with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. Sometimes the most important thing we can do for someone we love is hand them a mirror that shows them how extraordinary they actually are. I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourself. You are worth it, more than you know.